Greetings from Planet Seattle. This is Electric Elohim's page, and this is part 2, as in the days of Noah, as in our time. And I wanted to share the dreams with you, and that the Lord had given me about the return of the Nephilim, the fallen angels, and the offspring, the alien race. Again, I didn't believe in this stuff until I started praying, and he started showing me this stuff. There are a couple things that I want to share with you about culture and these alien beings and how they've affected culture. I talked about language and how people view language and symbols. Every single culture around the world knows about these things. They've talked about these things. They had no way of communicating in these times. There is even evidence that they were spread in such a way throughout the earth during the 3 accounts where I'm going to tell you they were spread, according to the biblical information and text that we have. And how some of the civilizations had the pyramids, Stonehenge, even before there were actually people there. And some of these people, such as in South America, they say that they were already built, and these temples were already built before they had gotten there. Let's get to the 3 times they were spread. The first time the Nephilim were spread was during the flood. The book of Genesis said that they were here before and after the flood. It is believed through Bible scholars, certain accredited Bible scholars, and through what you would call the conspiracy theorists, that the Nephilim built a vessel, a spacecraft, and Lucifer told them. So it was a counter kingdom attack and attempt to mimic God's kingdom when the ark was created by Noah, and the Lord gave him the ability to do that. And I believe that Satan was caught up, and the rest of them, the fallen angels, and the other ones, the other 12 that were behind Lucifer, that were the main ones that made the others stumble, and they were cast and locked in various parts of the earth. Lucifer, Beelzebub, and Apollyon were locked and chained in hell. Doesn't mean they don't have spirits, doesn't mean they can't come out, doesn't mean that. So that was the first time during the flood. They got a ship, they were scattered into the universe, and the rest of them were killed, and they were bound in hell. What happened is they came back after the flood, obviously, and then we have Nimrod and the Tower of Babel. During the Tower of Babel, all the languages were discombobulated. They couldn't understand each other. So that was the next time that they were spread. And I believe in being spread, the humans that were following them and corrupted, they couldn't speak the language. They couldn't speak theirs, so they had to come to an understanding of this language. So some of the people followed these Nephilim outside of Canaan, and they went into other parts of Europe, the Middle East, Africa, Asia Minor, and they begin to set up these temples and begin to set up cultural confusion and beliefs amongst these people, to spread the seed of deception and to bring utter confusion. This is all Satan. Satan's smart. He foresaw this, and this would be the setup of the divide in the world over spirituality, and this would make it more easier for them when they finally had their game plan and would return, to bring the Tower of Babel and the spirit of Tammuz and the spirit of Kabbalahism, which was created via Solomon when he took the wives and went crazy on God, and God had to visit him 3 times. These are the spirits that the Illuminati in our time frame feel that they are associated and acquainted with: Tammuz, Nimrod, the Tower of Babel, and Kabbalahism. So that is why they're connected to the Jewish faith, and they're really not Jews, these Illuminati elite people. let's see. The next time they were spread out. And I'm gonna go back to the Tower of Babel. I believe that during the time after the Tower of Babel, they were spread all over. I believe that there were still these beings and these Nephilim in these ships, and they were coming to these various places in the world where their brothers and their Nephilim sisters were, and they were switching information and deceiving the people. And there was this constant deceiving and trickery of the people across the world when they were spread. The third time was when King David and his mighty men began to slay the giants, Goliath and his four brothers. And the other Nephilim became afraid and they began to spread out. So again, you have this third wave of Nephilim that was going all over the place and being spread out. Now, I'm going to tell you, I had said in my earlier video that they were destroyed. 5 of them were killed, Goliath and his 4 brothers, and Satan stood up against David and brought an attack against David and the children of Israel. What I do believe about that particular time was that there may have been Nephilim outside of Canaan, outside the Middle East, outside of Africa, and they may even been in deep parts of Africa, India, China, and in South America. So you get the vastness of where this is all going and how cultures came into contact. Because whether people understand it or not, this is what I say. Language is language. And if people act like in the United States you don't speak language, then if it's sketched on a wall, or if it's a carven image, or if it's painted, or if it's some kind of weird symbols or hieroglyphics, they think it's just art. It's just something. No. It doesn't matter whether you're a Mayan, an Aztec, an Egyptian, a South African, an Indian from India, Chinese from China, Mongolia. It doesn't matter. Language transcends verbalness and cultures, and you learn to communicate. And I believe that if their language was scrambled at the Tower of Babel, then they had to learn how to paint. They learned how to communicate through symbols. And I believe that's how languages in these other cultures with these Nephilim that were spread out during these time waves after the flood, I believe that's how they were able to establish cultures and other civilizations, and therefore put their beliefs in these people. So, when you have like the images of carvings in Chile, Peru, and the Easter Islands, people say, oh, but they're just making art. It's just a distorted image. No, it's not, because the ones in Easter Island, the long face with the long eyes that go sideways, those were the ones that I saw in my second dream that I'm gonna read to you after this first dream. Again, where does this fit in with the time frame we're in and with the elite? Well, okay, let me explain. You have the elite own an umbrella of companies. If you notice, you see all the music industry, art, media, banks coming under one single canopy. Media, Lucifer manipulates. Art and music, he manipulates. Bank accounts, they control the assets in the world, all the natural resources, gold mines, platinum, titanium, all these resources, that they can have all this money. And so when these things and these creatures, like I talked about, these Nephilim, when they come back and when they return, because that's what they are, call them star people, call them aliens, but they're Nephilim. When they return, they're coming to be with the elite, the Illuminati. And the Illuminati, they give them information. They come here in exchange for women. This is what it is in the beginning. They exchange for women, for mating and breeding, whatever they want, in exchange that they give the elite first-hand account of first-hand access, to everything that they own here on Earth. So that's what the tactic is. We have the RAFD chip, and I'm going to get to that. The one that was created here because I work for the TSA is the first phase. The next chip that's coming that L.A. Manzulli talked about, and William Lear, the doctor that he dealt with, and I'm going to show you where you can find that information, and you can actually see it. And I'm going to get to that in a minute. This chip that was in the mucous membrane has the ability to give you immortality. This will deceive Christians alike. It'll even deceive alien skeptics. If you could live forever and you can have an immortal body, you're going to forget about God. You're going to forget about everything. And the book of Revelation says they will try to find death and seek death, but it will not find them because of the terrible things that are going on. I believe the church will be raptured out. And upon being raptured out of here, then the fallen angels is what's going to show up. And I have a friend, non-Ducardo that lives in Sydney, Australia, and she took her YouTube page down, and she saw these fallen angels coming and killing and raping and pillaging, and they take even the little girl children and use them for breeding programs, and they were using them, and this is all it is. This is what they are. This is what they do. So I'm gonna go ahead. Oh, and this is where you can find the video, Sid Roth. If you type in Sid Roth, L.A. Manzulli, and I said his name wrong in the first video, it's Manzulli, L.A. Manzulli on Sid Roth. Sid, S-I-D, and then Roth. And then you'll see the microchip. You'll see Dr. William Lear in the video footage on Sid Roth. You'll see the microchip implant. You'll see him talking about the 60 patients, and you'll see L.A. Manzulli talking about this and giving this account on Sid Roth. And there are actual pictures on Sid Roth. And you got to put this in, Sid Roth, L.A. Manzulli. And you'll see it come up, and it's called It's Supernatural. So that is where you're going to find that information at. Now, on with this dream. This is the first dream, and it was February 20th, 2011. I was in another city, sitting in what was a small apartment. In my robe, chatting with others. It was at night. I felt eerie, but didn't know why. The windows in my room were open. All of a sudden, this guy I knew came in, running in, yelling, get out, get out. Everybody ran. Everybody run, excuse me. Something bad is going to happen outside. He told me to come on. I looked out my window and thought about fireworks, but I knew it wasn't fireworks. I left out in a hurry. This guy said, go back in and close the windows. I ran in the apartment. I saw lights a bit in the sky. Then a gas began to fill my lungs. It was mustard nerve gas. And guys, I've never smelt it, don't know anything about it, but that's what I got in my spirit. And it was filling my lungs, and it felt real. I covered my mouth and nose too late as I was in the hall. All these people came running out of their apartments. I felt that this was a mass attack on America. I felt alien government conspiracy, and that there was nowhere to hide. I saw people's heads being cut off. I saw aliens. I kept trying to hide with others, to no avail. Now I'm going to stop right here. In both of my dreams, I saw a lot of heads being cut off. And it was scary because it was just trippy. It was because, I'm going to tell you why. We are an abundant food source. They cut the heads off, they take the body, they drain the blood, they like cannibalism. When they were here on earth, in the book of Enoch, it is said that they turned on man and beginning eating man. When there wasn't enough of a food source with animals, they turned on man. They even began to consume each other. Keep in mind, these things get 8 foot to 37 feet. you'd be damn hungry too, okay? So back to what I was reading. It was like every crack, attic, closet, basement, home, unseen place was found by them. Nowhere in the city was safe. We knew to grab food, water as we ran to hide. And it was like there wasn't enough food and water. And it was very in short ration, and I'm stopping and I'm reading. I'm stopping where I just left off, and it was like food was limited, supplies were limited, and you could only get the bare minimum, like bread and water and maybe some cheese and bologna and maybe like a little fruit, but really the diet was really rather slim. Okay. As we ran, we took food and water as we ran to hide. It was like I knew we didn't have enough. Finally, I was in a hidden place with 5 people. It seemed safe till one dummy jumped up and looked out. Once he did, these brown tentacles came in a hole. Then brown hands with a gun, space type, and machete. The being cut his head off. Then they tried to get in all around. There was nothing but chaos and confusion, yelling, violence, blood. Then the dream replayed. And then the dream stopped, because God sometimes will show me a dream twice so I can get it, and it'll change several times because he wants me to get the message and he wants me to get the warning out, okay? Now, I'm kind of looking through here. Now, one of the things he wanted me to kind of cover was about what I saw, tentacles, and I saw hybrids, and I saw the reason why they found when they were splicing and corrupting the creation of God the first time on the earth, and then during the Tower of Babel, and then after the Tower of Babel, what they found was there were certain creatures that they could breed with to get certain kind of characteristic traits, and some worked better than others. Such things they were successful at were horses and cattle, certain sea life, certain reptiles. They loved reptiles, and they liked birds with wings, and they were very successful in this breeding. And this is what they're doing right now. I mean, this is what they're doing in these outermost places and these portholes and where they're at. And when the time comes for them to come back, that is exactly what they're going to do. And they're going to come back, and they're going to come back with a vengeance, and they're going to be doing the same thing, and they're going to seem all friendly and all nice. But when they want to press it, and they know that their time is, and when Lucifer comes running up out of that pit, and he's coming out of that pit directly, walking right out, hands, feet, everything working just fine, then this is when the mess is going to pop off, because it's connected to the crop circles, the Illuminati, and the seers that connect Lucifer between hell, portholes in the outermost places in outer space. There's 30 kinds of Nephilim. The reptilian ones are the most barbaric and the most dangerous ones, and these brown ones that kind of look dried up and like E.T., they're very dangerous. Like I said, the cutting off of heads is a sacrifice, but it's also for food and not to damage the bodies, because they take and they do things with the skin and with the genetics and the DNA in the people's bodies that they cut up, not just for food. So this is what you need to understand. Now I'm going to read the second part, and when the dream replayed. This time, before I left the small apartment, I closed the windows, grabbed food and water. I was heading to the attic. I was with a friend. He said the basement. I told him no, they would look there. Again, chaos, murder, the government, Nephilim, aliens, they knew where to look. They were killing anyone they didn't keep. Then the dream changed, but I felt before it did the hidden space I was in was safe, but still could be found. I ended up in this closet. I looked out and saw a big cornfield and thought I would run in there. Then it came to me, they are combing heavily even the cornfield. And I got the feeling that they were finding people. And it was just something about they were able to locate, and they had a lot of high power telescopes, and this was at night. And I mean, they were getting these people, and I felt like very few people got away, but the people that did get away, they did make it. And the ones that got caught, well, they were either put in camps, or they were sold into slavery, or they were used for breeding programs, or they just basically were killed on the spot, no questions asked. Okay, let me finish reading. They were, let's see, I thought I could run into the cornfield. Then they came combing heavily through the cornfield. I saw lights and helicopters. Then through the closet door, I saw a 2-year-old girl. I watched as her mother and baby sister are caught and killed. No questions asked. I kept telling the little girl to be quiet. She kept talking and yelling. Then an older man, balding, semi-heavy, wired rim glasses came to the door. It was a gun that looked like it was from space. He had a tan trench coat on, white dress shirt, black pants. He had killed the girl's mother and grabbed me by the wrist. Then the dream was over. So he grabbed me, and he didn't shoot me and didn't kill me. But what I saw tentacles, you guys. And in my dealing with demonic things in the spiritual realm, the hands that I saw reaching in and had the machete, and they were cutting off, and they were very careful. I'm telling you, they knew what they were doing when they were shooting people in the head and when they were cutting their necks off, because they didn't want to blemish or damage the body. And they hanged the body upside down, and they drained the blood. And the guy in my dream looked like Dick Cheney. And what was ironic was I had this dream way before Dick Cheney lost all his weight. Now, Dick Cheney has colon cancer. If he survives, then I know. But God was letting me know that the United States government will definitely be involved in the things that are coming. And some of the things that I understood what God wanted me to get out was that curious folks will get you killed. People are going to have to be careful in their safe places, because they will be compromised by idiots. The next thing, in some of these places, hiding places, they were so dark that there were only certain times you could turn on a light, and you couldn't have continuous, and some of them were just barely even like a table, a chair, and maybe a pallet. There weren't places because they can see through things. They know things, and they are bringing technology which will basically, that is better than anything that the United States government has in their arsenal right now. And the kind of guns and the kind of type of space guns, I mean, this stuff I never believed in, you guys. But God said that if you got to be ready, you got to be on guard. And that's why he replayed the dream. When you see these things coming and you see these signs, you must be ready in these times that are coming. When the church isn't here, and the church will be gone, because he said, be on guard and don't panic. And use your head. Young kids are going to be difficult to keep quiet, because they're being caught in these places. A lot of places will be compromised by screaming, crying kids. And again, grab food and water. I think I might have said that the food was very limited. Like bread, water. You get bread, water, bologna, some cheese, some mayonnaise. to little fruit, but it was very little fruit, or excuse me, very little food, and you then had to ration the food. So then here is the next dream, and this dream I had. The other one was February 20th, 2011. This one was December 2nd, 2010. I woke up at 12:24 in the afternoon. And this one took place here in Seattle. Here we go. It was a late spring day to midsummer day. Not hot. I was outside a nursery that was connected to a building that had a huge parking lot. There were mountains. Lots of people were coming in and going into the nursery building. I was outside in front of the nursery trying to get my car started. It was a red Tiffany from the 1940s. A two-door. It wouldn't start. All of a sudden, up to my right in the sky, there were 3 UFOs with guns mounted on them. They were mid-size small, like medium small, wide, flat, smooth at the bottom, silver on top and sides. The bottoms were smooth and had the colors of blue and red. There were also some U.S. Air Force around them. I got scared. I got in the car to start it, but it whined a few more times, then it started. I looked and saw the parachute, shaped like an umbrella, come down. It was gray on top. Underneath it was shiny like foil. It was attached to a gold smooth object shaped like a bottle or an hourglass, but it was short and wide at the bottom. It fell into the nursery. People were leaving, and looking up. Then they were leaving and looking up. Then, for no reason, they went back into the building and nursery. I drove off. I hit a wall. The street turned to a wall. I stopped. Now, I was trying to get away, and several key things about this dream. I was riding in a Tiffany, which meant my financial circumstances had changed. Let's see. The next thing, the parachute. If you've ever seen I Dream of Jeannie, and then in the beginning you see the little cartoon character of I Dream of Jeannie, and then you see I think his name is Major Nelson, the guy that played as J.R. Ewing, and you see a parachute, and it looks white, and it's connected to, well, a bottle, and it's coming down. That's what this looked like. And the parachute looked like something that you would see on a falling space capsule coming from the sky. And it was white, and it would look like foil underneath, and I actually drew it, and then it was connected to this gold colored pod, and it contained the aliens inside, and I distinctively got that the United States government knew about it. So I'm going to keep on reading, and I'm in the wall. The wall was, in the dream, God was trying to stop me from driving and taking off because I really was freaking out, and this was so real. And again, I think it was here in Seattle, because in the western Washington, because I noted that there were tons of mountains, and it was pretty, and it was open space, and that's so reminiscent of Seattle. And the nursery, because these people here love the outdoors, they love the trees, they love the forest, they love going to nurseries. They have tons of nurseries, tons of gardening spots, tons of places you get trees, flowers, They love that stuff here. So the second page I'm going to read. I heard screams from the nursery. I looked, then saw 3 aliens. And this was after, keep in mind, the pod fell. People were leaving, but they saw the pod leaving. And then they were looking up and leaving. And then for no reason, they turned back around, went back into the nursery after these aliens fell. And shortly after that pod fell, the spaceships didn't land. That was shortly after I heard the screaming. And when the people were turning around and going in, and after they had landed and the screaming started yelling, and when the people were going in, that was all that was happening at once. Then that was when all the chaos was going on, and it was like, wow. So I heard screams from the nursery. I looked and I saw 3 aliens, but got a good look at 2 of them. They were both around 9 feet, lanky, heads long, faces flat. They had skin like E.T., brown and dry. Looking, you could see the outline of their ribs, their feet, long and skinny. I saw one of them with a knife. And okay, I'm going to tell you about the knife. When he had the knife, it was this long dagger, and it looked like a ritual dagger from a Luciferian or satanic blood-cutting, blood-sacrificing ritual. The knife had all these pretty jewels. It had like all these jewels on it, and then it was encrusted inside of, well, a silver, and they were big jewels, and he had it in his hand. And let me see. I saw one of them with the knife. He made an angry grumble sound as he killed humans. I drove back around to the parking lot, and I was still in my car watching this, and I drove around to the parking lot. Then I seen people trying to leave the building. Now, keep in mind, I said the pod fell. I saw 3 in the nursery area where all the trees were, and there was the fence, and then there were all these trees and flowers and all these shrubs, and it was thickly lots of vegetation, so you couldn't see everything. But I believe that the 3 that got out of that particular pod were only 3, that there were others that got out too, and I got the feeling that people could not leave the building, and once they went in, everything was blocked off and they were not allowed to leave. That it was scary to me, and I had all my senses, knew the time, knew it was a summer, spring day. I mean, my senses, and I could sense fear, and I could sense death, and I just could feel it. So let me get back to reading. I drove back around to the parking lot. Then I seen people trying to leave the building. I then heard screams from the building. Now, we're talking about the building that's connected to the nursery that was outside. And the nursery, I said, had a fence and a bunch of shrubbery and vegetation in it. And the building now had screaming in it, and the doors were blocked off. And I knew not to go in there because I'm not the one. And this is what I said. Let's see. Then I heard screams from the building. I got the feeling lots of people were stopped from leaving. I also kept thinking that when they were all going back into the building and nursery, I said to myself, these aliens aren't our friends, and they want to kill us, and they did. So, that was the end of that dream. I think basically, if you have any questions, I basically covered everything that I'm going to cover. Understand, a lot of people are having dreams. I'm encouraging people to begin to talk about it. If you are a Christian or unsaved, This is not because you ate something bad, or you're high on a drug, or you're hallucinating, or maybe something someone said or you read. No, if you're having dreams about these aliens and spacecraft, start to speak up, because I was a skeptic. I didn't believe in this stuff, and God began to keep putting it into my spirit, and I wanted to shut down. I didn't want to really pay attention. I didn't really want to know anything about it, but I feel like you Christians, if you're having dreams, start sharing your dreams. Start getting in touch and start reaching out and start contacting each other, even me, and start posting videos and start sharing your experiences, because the more that the word gets out about the elite and about the Illuminati, and their plans for the world, and their plans and even their plans, and understands what God revealed. When the church prays and prays full of the Spirit and diligently, all the obstacles come down. We are sent to be like the Elijahs against the spirit of Baal-Melech and Ashtaroth. And we're not doing that. And to destroy the spirit of Jezreel, Nimrod, Tammuz, and the spirit of Kabbalism that rests heavy in the Illuminati. You see, Lucifer knew why he needed to keep this undercover and in the darkness and not let it into the light. Because the 3 times before this that I explained to you, when his seed was spread and killed and discombobulated all over and put out in space, he was exposed because he was doing it outright in pure sight. But he knew that if he could keep it, and only God knows, and the Christians could be, and this is why he had to find people. And he chose the right group of people this time, because they've kept it in the dark for so long. He knew if he ever got caught again, it would destroy his plans. And I am finding that when people are praying, like myself, against the Illuminati, their spells, their organization, and everything that they stand for, and they are corrupted, make no mistake about it, and everything that they run on this earth, demonic attacks happen. They send agents, they send out curses, they send out the Voldemort spirit, which is another thing, that is the unnamed spirit that lures Christians into false doctrine and false religion. It is the spirit of Ashtaroth and Baal-Melech, and these Illuminati members know it. And Lucifer, you know, them thinking that this is their father and their God and they're going to run the world. No, because even they're having problems. They're going to be sick. They're going to be in ruin. They're going to have problems, and very few of them are going to be around. But when Lucifer comes, those ones that are left in the elite, in the Illuminati, well, those are the ones that he's going to use. And he's made it very clear to keep it in the dark and keep it hidden, because we can't pray. The Messianic Christian, the Messianic Jew can't pray and can't bring catastrophe. And I have found that since people have been praying about these idiots, that things have been happening to their plans, and their plans of catastrophe and their plans of attack, and they're being exposed. And I know that I've been having problems on my Twitter page, on my YouTube page, and Facebook is beginning to silence people. They are sending out viruses and hacks into people's phones that post these things in Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. I have a friend and other friends who are experiencing these things. I've experienced it on Twitter with 2 cell phones, the way the phones keep malfunctioning when you're talking about the Illuminati or the record industry that is connected to all of this. And again, all this, getting everything under one umbrella, and getting everything, all the media, all the arts, all the music, everything under one media and people in general, is to create this one world order and the Tower of Babel under one thought process, which is Lucifer and the fallen angels. And during the Olympics, Queen Elizabeth scaled a replica image of the Tower of Babel. She's full of demons and witchcraft. So children of the Most High need to be aware. There are forces that are hidden that Satan has established because we've been asleep at the wheel and in la Christian land. Being a pagan or an intellectual Christian and not full of the Spirit of God is not going to save you. This is why the Lord sent the Spirit. It's why Yeshua sent the Spirit, to bring us in all truth and all revelation and show His power. And without that, you're not battling demons. You're not casting out demons. You're not overcoming these people. They need to be overcome by the word and by the mysteries that the Lord reveals and by the power of prayer, intercession in groups and numbers. And you got to be full of the Spirit, and the Spirit's got to heighten your sense, and you got to understand how to interact with the angelic beings that are around us, because those angels that are around us, that protect us, that God sends, they can be ordered by God's Spirit and asked by us through request in a very respectable manner to go deal with those things in the supernatural. And I've experienced it, and I can do it. My words don't fall to the ground. If I tell God I'm having a problem with them, and the Illuminati's tried to attack me, but God has showed me the attacks of pestilence and sickness and death and injury that has happened to those that have tried to come against me. And they laugh and they think we're all stupid, but now it's not a laughing matter with media and YouTube and mainstream social network and the people's eyes that are awakened. Even the secular people who aren't saved are talking about the Illuminati and the Nephilim and all the whole New World Order thing. So again, this is Electric Elohim's page. Listen to part 1, as in the days of Noah, as in our time, to get a better understanding about what is being said in this video, or you're going to be completely lost. So this is part 2, and shalom, and stay vigilant, and be blessed, and have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day. Bye.